So I was on my first ever show, the Friend Fusion show with Trinity Mitchell, your friend Trin, and I had the most amazing time. I cannot explain enough. I see why now when people come on my show, they're like, "Oh, I'm so nervous. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to say." Baby, your girl was scared, okay? And because of that, there was a lot that I felt like I left unsaid. We talked about being a PK. We talked about some of the threats that my parents have had to endure. We've talked about how that affected me, why PKs are typically considered the worst ones. We actually talked about spiritual abuse, people being spiritual parents, like what that looks like, some of the highs and lows of being a pastor's kid. There's so much. When I say like so much, so much. Okay. But of course, I'm not going to go through all of it today. However, I do want to kind of bring out some of the things that I did not fully get to talk about. And so that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. Number 1, stop letting people abuse you and cloaking it as being like, oh, I'm in right standing with God because you're being super spiritual. That's not a real thing. If God does not abuse his children, why would he allow or want someone else to put you in a situation of being abused? It doesn't make sense. And I get it, right? I'm a Christian. I be knowing that Bible, okay? And a lot of times what I've seen in life is we use the story of David and Saul. And in that story, yes, David refuses to dishonor Saul. Like he had multiple times to kill that man and he did not, okay? I think that's clock it, okay? Yes, clock it, okay? He still showed honor, still showed loyalty to Saul, even though Saul tried to kill him like 3 times. I just went and reread that story. I'm thinking Saul only really tried to kill him once. No, if you go read that mug, he tried to kill him like 3 times. The first time he like ran away, Jonathan was like, "Dad, like, why are you doing this?" He didn't even do nothing to you. And he was like, "All right, you're right. I'm not going to lay a hand on him. I'm not going to kill him." He get jealous again. His daughter, who is David's wife, has to hide him out that time, and they like stuffed his bed with stuff. So when the guards came in there and tried to kill him, he was gone. And then he concocted this plan with Jonathan where he was like, "Okay, I'm not going to go to the moon festival to eat with him. If he act up, if your daddy start getting in his feelings and he get real angry and he started just spouting off at the mouth, that's how you gonna know." Because Jonathan was like, "Whoa, bro, he promised me he wasn't gonna kill you. Like, he's not gonna kill you. He's not gonna tell you. He would have told me if he was gonna kill you or not." And David's like, "Bro, put that on everything I live. Like, I swear on my life that man is trying to kill me." And so they concocted this plan to test his heart. And turns out, Saul got mad. He got so mad. I want to say he threw like a javelin at Jonathan's head. Like, this is his son at this point that he is trying to now harm because he was mad that he gave David permission to go home. Okay. And there's a couple of things I want to pull out of there. Number 1, what? Okay. Again, if God doesn't let, or if God is not the one abusing you, why would he want somebody else to abuse you? Like, make that make sense. We talked about it in the episode where a lot of people are appointing themselves as spiritual parents, but they're jealous of the people that that are under them. It shows in their actions. They're very petty. They're very vindictive. They easily are jealous. And a lot of times we say like, "Oh, they're protecting them," or they're like trying to show them discipline. There's a complete difference between being disciplined and being abused. Okay. Discipline is going to help you to become a better person and not in the form of like physical abuse, right? You can say, "Oh, I want to work out more." And that is you being more disciplined. "Oh, I plan to wake up earlier." You set an alarm and actually getting up when it goes off is being more disciplined. You say, "Oh, I want to feel better and I want to be healthier." Okay, well, making healthy food choices is being disciplined. So there are a lot of things and ways that you can be disciplined that does not constitute abuse. Right? Somebody like constantly putting their hands on you, belittling you, even speaking down to you all the time. That's not discipline. right? That may be verbal, emotional, physical, spiritual abuse. And that's something that you should be cautious of, because even in this story, David put Saul's heart to the test. He's like, hey, I think he feels some sort of way, but instead of me just coming out saying it, having a conversation, because I do feel like that man want to kill me. And some people might want to kill your destiny, and you got to be careful of that, okay? But instead of David just saying, let's have a conversation, he said, Jonathan, I'm going to let you test him. You test his heart. When my name is mentioned, what's his reaction about me? How does he curve his lips? Is it a smirk or is it a smile, right? Those are things that you want to be cautious of when you are around spiritual leaders, because they should be able to see what God has placed on the inside of you to cultivate that. Not to condemn it, not to belittle it, not to do any of those things. And so David put Saul, rather. He put him to the test. And when he discovered that, oh, his heart is not right towards me, he didn't try to get even. He didn't try to kill him first. It wasn't like, oh, let me get him before he get me. He just removed himself from his house. David lived with him at that point, right? And I think that's what we sometimes as Christians are missing. We stay in that situation when it's like, no, let me remove myself from this situation, because I know, even in Proverbs chapter, I want to say it's 27 verse 3, it says, a prudent man sees danger coming and he takes precautions. But a simpleton goes on blindly and suffers the consequences. There are a lot of consequences that we suffer because we saw danger and we did not remove ourselves from it. Okay? It's a very dangerous place to be in, to constantly be surrounding yourself with people who are jealous or angry or vindictive of what God has placed on the inside of you. So you do want to be careful of that, okay? Don't keep submitting yourself to these folks and they don't mean you any good, right? You can leave. And I say that out of just pure, honest, like genuine concern. You can leave a house spiritually if you don't feel safe. You don't have to wait on God to be like, get up, go, in the middle of the night, right? You don't have to wait on an audible voice. Now, if the Lord pricks your heart to go back, then there may be something he wants to teach you, or maybe he wants to give you a word of warning for them, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Personally, I don't know. However, God's not going to fault you for leaving if you decide to leave first, right? Now, if he tells you to go back, that's the Lord, okay? We can't argue with that man, that God, okay? He is the Lord. But he's not going to be mad at you for taking a step that you thought was good. He's not. Somebody said that one day, and it just freed me so. Like, just take the step, and God is loving enough, and he is God enough to correct your steps if you go the wrong direction. Now, don't do no like destiny, life-altering decisions like getting married, okay? That's a covenant. That's a whole different thing. If the Lord ain't tell you. If the Lord tell you don't do that, don't do that, okay? Next, your life will be so much more peaceful when you come to terms with the fact that you get to decide who you want in your life and to what degree you want to allow them into your life. And we talked about this kind of on the Zoom call. In the Patreon, she has a friend zone where you get to like discuss the episodes and go more in depth with them, which I love. We had so many people on there and it was so freeing. Okay. When we went through the episode, we were talking about friends and how sometimes seasons shift and you have to rearrange your friends. And it doesn't mean that you're no longer in connection with them at all, but it may mean that you're not as close as you used to be. And that's something that you have to learn to be okay with. As seasons shift, y'all may not be quote unquote best friends anymore. And what is the concept of a best friend, right? We talked about that too. Like, why is there just one best friend? Have a good group of really great friends, not necessarily a friend group, but a cohort of people, and they might not even know each other, that believe in you. They believe in what God has placed in you. I told them folks, Baby, the minute I hear somebody say like, oh, that was extra. Oh, you do too much. We're never going to be close in covenant or in relationship, because what God has given me may be too much for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do have to discern and then decide to protect what God has put on the inside of me. I'm not going to falter. I'm not going to quiet what God has given me and what he's shown me and what he's called me to do just because it makes you uncomfortable. But I do also understand I'm not going to just throw you away. If God gives me a word for you, I'm going to give it. If he wants me to pray for you, I'm going to pray. If he tells me to sow into your life, I'm going to sow. There's no hard feelings there, but I also know that we will not ever be as close in covenant relationship as you may desire, because there is a little bit of tension when the levels are different, right? In the video that I had to go viral, we talked about friend groups, right? And there's A, B, C, and D that are in this friend group. A and B get along, B and C get along, C and D get along. But if B and D don't get along, there's nothing wrong with that. They may have differing personalities. It just might mean that they're never meant to be in close covenant relationship. And I think that's where we mess up, is we assume I need to be close to everyone who comes in proximity with me. And that's not necessarily the case, right? You are just required to love them, and you can love people at arm's length. Okay, you're required to love them, to pour into them, to comfort those who are hurting, who are mourning. You're called to bring light into darkness. You're called to give a word of encouragement if the Lord puts that on your heart. You may be called to speak life into them, to encourage them, to exhort them. However, it does not mean that you're constantly doing life with them. And that's why I've kind of gotten to a point where, even as a pastor's kid, I remember praying that the Lord would send me people who get me, people who understand, which is why I even did the pastor's kids conference in the first place, the PK getaway, because I was like, Lord, I have so many people. I dealt with rejection, right? I had so many people who would come to church. If they got mad at my parents, they'd stop talking to me. If they left the church, they'd stop talking to me. If they felt some sort of way, they stopped talking to me. If they backslid and they don't want nobody to know, where my friends at, right? And so I asked the Lord very specifically for pastors' kids who I could talk to and love and express my heart to, and it wouldn't change anything between us. If I did have something that my parents kind of made me upset with, I could talk to them about it and they would just get it. They'd understand, right? It might be, and this is not my story, I'm just using a random example, but it might be something as simple as, I'll use my sister. Not that she was mad, but my sister had to go to prom the same night that my parents were hosting like a marriage conference, or she went somewhere. Okay. If that was me and I felt some sort of way, well, I didn't want to talk to somebody else in the church because I didn't want them to ever look at my parents differently. I didn't want them to not be able to receive what God had for them through my parents. And so I was like, well, let me talk to a PK. Let me talk to one of them because they're going to get it. They're going to understand. And then tomorrow we'll laugh about it. We'll get over it. But in this moment, when I need someone who will fully understand me and fully know me and fully see me, send me my people, God. And that's what I feel like a lot of people are just kind of looking for in this season. Like, Lord, send me my folks. And that's my prayer for you, if I'm honest. Like, Lord, send them their people. Stop looking for the who's who of town or social media or status or the country or whomever, right? I remember the Lord telling me at one point when I was super young, okay, it might have been like 10, 11 at the time. And I was kind of starstruck. And he was like, Ieshia, why are you looking for, and I'm just going to use a star's name, right? Why are you wanting to always be connected with Angelina Jolie or Will Smith or Chris Rock? Okay, I'm just throwing names out there. When the Angelina Jolie of your generation might be sitting right next to you and you're ignoring her. The Will Smith of your generation might have graduated high school with you. The Chris Rock of your generation, you might be sitting across from them on a train and you'll never know it because you're so caught up in being known and seen and validated by these people who are already in a position of power or status. And so that was one thing that the Lord kind of had to fix in my heart, was to truly see the value in people exactly where they are, not in a transactional way, but in a way that's like, oh, let me love on you and encourage you and help you to become all that God has called you to be, if I feel like the Lord has placed us in close proximity and in a covenantal like friendship connection, right? And so to get back to the point, your life will be more peaceful when you decide, or you come to the realization that you get to decide who you put in your life, right? If you don't want to be friends with somebody, you don't have to. That's the reality of it. Like, there's nobody forcing you to keep a negative person. There's no one forcing you to keep someone in your life except your own guilt, except your own condemnation, except you wondering how they're going to think about you if you don't. So you are keeping people in your life when you didn't have to. To that same degree, there are some people you may not kick out of your life completely, but you may reposition them in your life. Just like Jesus had disciples. There were the 12, and then there was the 3, and then there was the 1, right? The disciple whom Jesus loved. And outside of the 12, Jesus actually had a ton of disciples. The 12 were just the apostles that went on to like start the churches and go into other countries and do all the work that was set before them. But Jesus had hundreds of disciples. He had the 12 close to him that he did life with, that he trained to go after him. He had the 3 that were the closest to him that he took into the Garden of Gethsemane to see him in his weakness, right? And then he had the 1 whom Jesus loved, wrote a whole book, okay, in the Bible. And so I think that sometimes it would behoove us to follow Jesus's example and put people in different statuses. Trinity mentioned in our Zoom call that there might be a tier 1, 2, 3, and 4 when it comes to friendships. Tier 1 might get the closest, most vulnerable sides of her. And this is not her words. These are mine. Tier 2, they might be not quite as close, but they're really good in proximity. Tier 3 might be like, oh, we know of each other. I really like them. They're great people. Tier 4 might be more like an acquaintance or an associate, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but you do have that ability to place people where they need to go in your life. You don't have to share everything with everybody. And you don't have to feel guilty for not doing so either. That's what God has given us free will for. If you want a friend, show yourself friendly. Yes, but don't be over friendly. How many friends do we need, right? I think the word friend is actually overused. Like, let's go back to being brothers and sisters in Christ, right? I meet somebody on the street. I meet somebody at church. Sis, how can I help you today? Sis, how you feeling? Instead of just calling them friend. I gained so much freedom mentally, emotionally, when I stopped calling people friend. Because when I called them friend is when I started to notice, oh, they don't treat me like such and such, who they also call friend. And it made me get to the season of comparison where I had to figure out, like, who am I to them? And it made me want to match energy or move how they moved. And that's not me, right? That's not how I want to be seen. That's not how I want to live my life. I don't want to match energy. I just want to be free. I want to be a free energy. Okay. I want to have a free spirit. I don't want to hold any bitterness or unforgiveness or anything like that against anybody. And so I had to learn that it would behoove me to just start calling people sis again. Stop letting people so close so quickly. Move slowly in your friendships. I think we are so starved for connection when really our ultimate connection should be with Jesus. But because we're not constantly going to the Father to get the affirmation that we need, we're looking for it in people. And because we're so starved for human connection, as soon as somebody comes in our life and we might have one thing in common, we're automatically like, oh, we're going to be best friends forever. No, we might be cool. Like, we both like to go skating. Okay, you're going to be my skating buddy. But we may not talk every day. It's like, hey, girl, when the last time you went skating? And the only thing we talk about is skating. Rollerblades. You like rollerblades? Do you like the four wheels, which was easier for you? When did you start skating? And that might be the depth of our relationship, and there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be close to everybody in every single way. And there's a beauty in that, right? Overall, it was an amazing conversation. There's so much to be learned about friendship that I'm actually learning through her. And I so appreciate Trinity because she has been able to give voice to a lot of the things that I have experienced. Even, for example, even to the degree she was like, you went to high school with somebody 12 years ago and y'all were friends back then. And they come up to you expecting you to just kick it like y'all did 12 years ago. I don't know you at this point. Like, you're a completely new person. You've lived a whole nother life since then. You're not the same person that you used to be. And that was so freeing for me. Like, okay, I'm not going to treat you like a stranger. However, we may not be best friends right now. And there's nothing wrong with that because we have to learn and develop and grow and see if we're even still compatible as people. Because I can love you in Christ and still keep you over there too. Yeah. Overall, it was an amazing conversation. I cannot wait for y'all to go watch it. If you did watch it, tell me what was your favorite part, okay? Let's have some more conversations. Let's break this down some more because I think that there's so many moving parts. Have you ever been spiritually abused by leaders? What pushed you away from church? Did you ever go back to church? Do you feel like you've healed from that? Are you still as close as you used to be with the people in your life that you feel like have been jealous of you? Like, what are you still subjecting yourself to right now that you probably need to separate from? Let's have those conversations. When I say I love y'all, okay? Your girl be praying for y'all. I'm so grateful to be connected to you. I'm so honored to know you guys, to be loved by you guys. And when I say I love y'all, I really do mean that. So, I'll see y'all next time. Bye.